the initial benefit comes. Firstly, that they can kind of handle customers a lot better, handle customers digitally a lot better, so not having to send out as many bits of paper and answer as many phone calls. I think it's fairly obvious stuff, but they still certainly don't do that very well. And then once you have all the different products being handled via the one system or the one data store, you're then able to kind of cross-sell a lot more effectively. At the moment, you still have insurance and roadside customers being dealt with very differently. You still, as a customer, I think in the main, if you have an insurance and a roadside product and you change your address, have to phone up two different people, or certainly be transferred across different call centres. So the ability to do that once and once only, and use a bit more automation in some of the basic processes, will actually derive a lot of benefit. But it's probably will probably be surprising in terms of the benefit it deliver, because they're still, from my perspective, handling things in a way that a lot of businesses don't do anymore. So there's still some fairly fundamental benefits, opportunities to reduce costs that probably don't exist in the other businesses. Whether this goes down as far as...
Just give me an example of that. Sorry, just in terms of... Because to me, in the AA, it's almost ironic that you've had this sort of private equity ownership and they've ripped out certain costs, but then which are being put back in. But it does seem like there's, if you have better IT systems, there are costs you can then take out. I mean, one question I have is that... Sorry, go ahead. I was just going to say that, in terms of the amount of patrols you have on the road, and, there's a question mark there around, what's the average age of the asset, but almost more than that is if you have, better systems and, you're more, I guess you're sort of more proactive rather than reactive, you should be able to cut the amount of patrols that you have down. You should equally...
To a certain extent, I think less so in that side of the market, because actually... whilst the systems operating them are probably due for renewal at some point, the algorithms and the thinking going into the logistics and the prediction and the forecasting of the amount of patrols actually is very good and seen as kind of like best in class. So that side of things, I think probably, is, that there's certainly, we can kind of come to it later, what, potentially, so you have to be sized. So the thing that drives, and you probably know this as well as I do, the thing that drives kind of real unexpected cost into the business, a period like we're having now, periods of unexpected extreme weather. So at that point, your patrol force is maxed out. You then need to start using contractors, so kind of like local breakdown people, and that adds a significant amount more cost. So the algorithm really is around working out how your patrol fleet is best sized to handle, the X in however many years winter or the average kind of like temperature range. So you're not oversized, so you have huge amounts of slack time, but you're not undersized, so you drive a huge amount of cost in, more regularly than you need to. That there is an argument about how you could better utilise those patrols in slack periods, so out of rush hour, very kind of benign weather conditions, all this kind of stuff. And there's some good ideas around, there's some good ideas certainly around that about, you could potentially start thinking about, well, you've got a mobile workforce, you've got some telematics going on and potentially some prognostics. If you start rolling out the car journey a bit more, could you start having some kind of, I don't know, pre-winter checkup type thing going on for your premium customers? So when your patrol's there, rather than kind of just sat in the car park waiting for a call, they can go and kind of see someone and kind of have a quick check and make sure their windscreen wipers are all correct or whatever it might be, you know what I mean? Or do a check on their battery if they've not been seen by a patrol for a couple of years, or if they're a long-standing customer. Alternatively, there's some more radical ideas being thought about to say, well, actually, could you use the AA? You've got this whole kind of like this whole industry around kind of Halfords and fitting basic parts, so bulbs and kind of windscreen wipers, stuff like that, stuff that's actually a bit fiddly for your average punter, but it's something that's done really quickly by someone who knows what they're doing. Could you, again, on these flat periods, if you could press a button on the app saying, I've got a Ford Focus and I know the back windscreen wiper is knackered and I've got no chance to nip out the Halfords and I can't really be bothered to fix it myself, could you press a button in the app and someone, I guess like I say, if it's a not urgent issue, could someone, when they're on a patrol, when they're on a slack period, nip by your house and literally change it for you there and then? So there's certainly kind of opportunity to better sweat your asset, if you like, to the mean. And these are all areas for me that the AA is very much